I want to tell you about a patient. Let's call him David. David was 42 years old. He was a successful architect, a runner, a father of two. And by every conventional measure, he was healthy. He was 5'10" and weighed 160 pounds. His body mass index was 23. That's not just normal, that's the ideal BMI that doctors would congratulate him for. He wasn't skinny fat, he just looked healthy. He came to my clinic for a routine physical, but he mentioned he'd been feeling unusually tired and crashy in the afternoons. His primary doctor had run some basic labs and was baffled. I ran our advanced metabolic panel. And I have to be honest, when I got the results back, I felt a knot in my stomach. The entire medical team was floored. David's healthy BMI dollars of 23 was masking a body that was, on the inside, ravaged by metabolic disease. His triglycerides/HDL ratio was, in a word, disastrous. His fasting insulin was sky high, and his HbA1c, the 3-month average of his blood sugar, was 8.1%. David, at 160 pounds, had severe, undiagnosed type 2 diabetes. And he was the poster child for a condition that I believe is the single most dangerous, most underdiagnosed epidemic in modern medicine. It's a condition we call TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. You might be watching this right now thinking, my weight is fine. My BMI is normal. And this video isn't for me. But are you tired all the time? Do you have brain fog? Do you get hangry if you skip a meal? Do you have a little bit of a pot belly, even though your arms and legs are thin? As a doctor, this is what keeps me up at night. Because David is not an outlier. He is the norm. Millions of people are walking around right now and thinking they are healthy because the scale tells them they are, while on the inside, a silent metabolic fire is raging. In this video, we are going to do a deep dive, a masterclass on this silent killer. I'm going to explain exactly what this hidden fat is, where it comes from, and how it is far more dangerous than the visible fat you can pinch. I will show you. The simple tests you can ask your doctor for to find out if you are TOFI, and most importantly, I am going to give you the precise, actionable, science-backed plan to reverse this condition. Lose the toxic fat and truly reclaim your health from the inside out.
Section 1. The Great BMI. Deception. Why your scale is lying to you. The very first thing we have to do as partners in your health is to completely shatter the biggest myth in modern medicine, the BMI. The body mass index. This number has become the single, lazy shortcut for health. Your doctor uses it, your insurance company uses it, your fitness app uses it. Here's the shocking truth. The BMI was never intended to be a measure of individual health. It was invented in the 1830s by a Belgian mathematician and sociologist named Adolphe Quetelet. He wasn't a physician, he wasn't studying health. He was trying to find a mathematical formula to describe the average man for the purposes of statistics. He explicitly stated that it could not and should not be used to indicate the level of fatness in an individual. And yet, here we are, 200 years later, using this crude, outdated statistical tool as the primary diagnostic for health. The BMI is a measure of your total mass relative to your height. It has zero ability to tell the difference between a 200-pound bodybuilder who is 8% body fat and a 200-pound sedentary person who is 40% body fat. To the BMI dollar calculator, they are identical, but more importantly, it has no idea where your fat is located. And this is the entire story. My patient David had a normal BMI dollars, but when we put him through an advanced body composition scan, like a DEXA or a specific MRI telo, the truth was horrifying. His body was 160 pounds, but a huge percentage of that was fat, and almost none of it was muscle. He had what we call sarcopenia, or low muscle mass, masked by a normal amount of fat. And the fat he did have wasn't in the safe places. It was all inside, strangling his organs. This is the TOFI paradox. We have become a population of people who look thin, but are over-fat, and critically, under-muscled. Studies on this are chilling. Research from leading medical centers suggests that as many as 40% of normal BMI adults, people with a BMI dollars between 20 and 25, are actually metabolically unhealthy. They have high blood pressure, high blood sugar, poor cholesterol profiles, and high inflammation. That means you could be sitting in a waiting room with 10 people who all look thin and healthy, and at least 4 of them, including maybe you, are ticking time bombs for a heart attack, stroke, or a diabetes diagnosis just like David's. So, the first step in this journey is to promise me you will stop using the BMI dollars as your report card. It is a liar. It's a meaningless number that tells you nothing about your actual health. What matters isn't your total weight, it's your body composition. It's what you are made of. And most importantly, it's where your fat is. Section 2. The 2 fat pockets. Why visceral fat is a metabolic terrorist. To understand why David, with his normal weight, was so sick, you need to understand one of the most fundamental concepts of your biology. Your body has 2 completely different pockets for storing fat, and they behave in completely different ways. Think of it this way. Pocket number 1, subcutaneous adipose tissue, SAT. This is the safe fat. This is the fat just beneath your skin. It's the pinchable stuff on your arms, your legs, your butt, your belly. I want you to think of this fat as a savings account. It's designed for long-term, stable storage. It's relatively quiet. It's not perfectly inert, but it's not the primary driver of disease. When you store fat here, your body is doing what it's supposed to do. It's storing energy for a rainy day in a well-organized, safe deposit box. It's metabolically calm. Pocket number 2, visceral adipose tissue, VAT. This is the toxic fat. This is the hidden fat. You cannot pinch it. You cannot see it. Because it exists deep inside your abdominal cavity, packed tightly around your vital organs, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, your heart. This is not a savings account. This is a metabolic terrorist cell hiding in the center of your city. This visceral fat is not just storage. It is a highly active, angry, rogue endocrine organ. It is a gland, and it doesn't just sit there. It actively secretes a toxic brew of inflammatory molecules called cytokines, like TNF-alpha dullards and interleukin-6 dullard, and hormones, like excess leptin and resistin, that wreak havoc on your entire body. This is the fire I was talking about. This fat causes systemic inflammation. But here is the most critical part. Look at where this fat is located. It's all wrapped around your organs, and specifically, it's wrapped around the portal vein. This is the superhighway that carries all the blood from your gut and spleen directly to your liver. So this toxic, inflammatory fat is dumping its poisonous cytokines and a flood of free fatty acids directly into your liver, 24/7. This is a direct, overwhelming assault. Your liver, which is your body's main metabolic processing plant, is the first victim. It becomes immediately inflamed and overwhelmed by this flood of fat. It's the garbage in the living room analogy. A little bit of subcutaneous fat is like having some extra boxes in your garage. You're still healthy, you can still live your life. Visceral fat is like having 50 bags of rotting, toxic garbage piled in your living room and kitchen. The entire house becomes unlivable. The fumes, The inflammatory cytokines spread to every single room, your entire body, causing systemic disease. David looked thin because he had very little of the safe subcutaneous fat, but his abdominal cavity was packed with this terrorist fat. He didn't have a garage to store his extra energy, so his body had been dumping it all for years directly into his living room, and his body was finally collapsing from the toxicity. Section 3. The personal fat threshold. Why your body spilled over. This is the question I get all the time in my clinic. But doctor, my friend is 100 pounds heavier than me, and his blood sugar is fine. How can I have diabetes when I'm skinny? This is one of the most important concepts for you to grasp. It's called the personal fat threshold. I want you to imagine that your safe subcutaneous fat pocket, your savings account from the last section, is a biological bucket. Every single person is born with a genetically different sized bucket. Some people, through pure genetic luck, are born with a massive bucket. They can overeat, and their body will happily and safely store that excess energy as subcutaneous fat. They may become visibly obese, but for a very long time, their metabolic health, their blood sugar, their insulin, their liver, can remain surprisingly normal. Their safe storage is just enormous. But many of us are not born with a big bucket. People of certain ethnicities, for example, particularly South and East Asians, are known to have a very small personal fat threshold. Their safe storage bucket is more like a small cup. This is exactly what happened to David. He had a tiny bucket. His whole life, he wasn't eating that many extra calories. But the type of calories he was eating, which we'll get to, combined with his small genetic bucket, meant that his safe storage filled up very quickly. So what happens when the bucket is full? The body is a brilliant survival machine. It has to put that energy somewhere. It can't just disappear. This is where the spillover happens. The excess energy, the extra glucose, the extra fructose, can no longer go into the safe subcutaneous fat pocket. So it spills over. And where does it go? It goes directly to the liver. Your liver is your sump pump. It's the overflow drain. It desperately tries to handle this flood of energy that has nowhere else to go. And it does this through a process called de novo lipogenesis, which literally means making new fat. Your liver takes that excess sugar, especially fructose, and that excess starch from refined carbs, and starts madly converting it into fat, specifically triglycerides. At first it tries to export this new fat, but it can't export it fast enough. So the fat begins to accumulate inside the liver cells themselves. This is the very first step in the TOFI cascade. It is the birth of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. This isn't fat around the liver, that's visceral fat. This is fat inside the liver. So David's normal BMI dollars was a complete illusion. Genetically, his safe storage was full. For years, every piece of healthy, gluten-free toast, every glass of natural orange juice, every bowl of heart-healthy cereal was spilling over his threshold and going directly to his liver, where it was being converted into internal, toxic fat. He wasn't gaining weight on the scale because his body wasn't storing it under his skin. He was losing his health, one liver cell at a time. This is why skinny people get sick. Their personal fat threshold is low, and the spillover has already begun. Section 4. The ectopic fat. Murder, how fat kills your liver and pancreas. The spillover doesn't just stop at the liver. Once the liver itself becomes overwhelmed, we enter the most dangerous phase of all, the ectopic fat cascade. Ectopic is a medical term that simply means in an abnormal place. This is fat that is infiltrating organs that were never, ever designed to store fat. I want you to follow this toxic spill through the body. It's a 3-step murder. Step 1, the liver gets fatty and deaf. As we just discussed, the liver is stop one. It becomes engorged with fat, NAFLD. A fatty liver is an angry liver. It's an insulin-resistant liver. Remember insulin's job? It's the key that tells your cells, including your liver, to stop making new sugar and to start taking it up from the blood. But now your liver is full of fat. It becomes deaf to insulin's signal. It stops listening. So even when you are fasting, even when you are asleep, your deaf, fatty liver ignores insulin and just keeps pumping out more and more glucose into your bloodstream, a process called gluconeogenesis. This is why so many of my patients are terrified when their fasting blood sugar is high. They say, "But doctor, I haven't eaten in 12 hours. Where is this sugar coming from? It's coming from your own liver. Your liver is leaking sugar all night long because it's full of fat and has become insulin resistant." Step 2. The pancreas gets clogged. Your liver, now completely overwhelmed and fatty, can't hold anymore. The spillover continues. Where does the fat go next? It spills over and begins to infiltrate the worst possible place. Your pancreas. The pancreas is a small, delicate organ that sits behind your stomach. It has zero business storing fat. Specifically, the fat infiltrates and poisons the most precious cells in your entire metabolic system, the beta cells. What do beta cells do? They are the only cells in your body that produce and secrete insulin. I want you to picture this. This toxic spillover fat is literally strangling and clogging your body's insulin factory. This is the kill shot. This is the moment David crossed the line. His body was already insulin resistant from the visceral fat and the fatty liver, so his pancreas was screaming for years, pumping out 5x, 10x the normal amount of insulin just to keep his blood sugar normal. But now, that same fat has invaded the factory itself. The beta cells, overworked and now poisoned by fat, begin to die. This is beta cell failure. This is the definition of type 2 diabetes. It's not just insulin resistance, it is the failure of your pancreas to overcome that resistance because it has been poisoned by ectopic fat. David's normal BMI didn't matter. His pancreas was failing. Step 3. The muscles get jammed. At the same time, this fat is spilling over into your muscles. It's called intramyocellular lipid. This is fascinating. The fat gets inside the muscle cell itself. Think of the insulin receptor as the keyhole on the outside of the cell's door. This ectopic fat in your muscle jams the lock from the inside, so the insulin key can fit in the keyhole, but it can't turn. The door cannot open. The glucose cannot get into the muscle. This makes your muscle, which should be your primary sink for glucose, completely useless. So now you have the perfect storm that David had. A fatty liver that's leaking sugar 24/7. Fatty muscles that can't absorb any of that sugar. A fatty, clogged pancreas that has lost the ability to produce enough insulin to deal with the crisis. And all of this was happening inside a man who looked healthy on the outside. Section 5. Are you TOFI? The 5 warning signs. Your BM won't show you by now. The single most important question on your mind should be, am I TOFI? How do you know if you are David? You're not going to find the answer by stepping on a scale. You need to become a detective for your own health. You need to look for the real clues of metabolic dysfunction. I'm going to give you the 5 most powerful tests you can use. Some you can do at home, and some you must ask your doctor for at your next physical. Do not take your BMI is fine for an answer. Warning sign. 1. The waist-to-height ratio, the string test. This is, without question, the single best at-home measurement for visceral fat. It is infinitely more accurate than BMIRs. Here's how you do it. Take a piece of string, measure your height with it. Now, fold that string exactly in half. Wrap that half length of string around your waist at the level of your belly button. If the 2 ends of the string do not meet, you have a high probability of having excess visceral fat regardless of your BMI. The simple rule is, your waist circumference should be less than half your height. For example, if you are 5'10", which is 70 inches, your waist should be less than 35 inches. David's waist was 37 inches. It wasn't huge, but it was over the line. This was our first clue. Warning sign Factor 2, the deadly triad on your lipid panel. This is on the standard blood test your doctor orders. But most doctors are only looking at your LDL, or bad cholesterol. You need to look at two other numbers: high triglycerides, TG. This is your fat in the blood number. But as we learned, this is a direct proxy for how much fat your liver is making, de novo lipogenesis. The normal range is often 150 mg DL. In my clinic, I tell my patients I never want to see a number over 100. Over 100 is a huge red flag for a fatty liver. David's was 250 low HDL. This is your good cholesterol. It's the garbage truck that cleans up your arteries. When your body is inflamed from all that visceral fat, your HDL plummets. Normal is 40 mg DL. Optimal is 60. David's was 32. The magic number is the TG-HDL ratio. Divide your triglycerides by your HDL. David, 200 minutes out, 32 core 7.8. A ratio of 1.5 is ideal. A ratio of 2.5 is a massive red flag for severe insulin resistance and visceral fat. David's 7.8 was a 5-alarm fire, warning sign. At number 3, any liver enzyme, ALT as over 25. This is also on your standard panel. ALT and A-stools are liver enzymes. When your liver cells are exploding from being overstuffed with fat, they leak these enzymes into your blood. The normal lab range might go all the way up to 40 or 50. This is, frankly, insane. That normal range is based on a sick population. In the medical literature, the true upper limit for a healthy liver is around 25 for men and 19 for women. David's ALT dollars was 42s. His doctor told him it was borderline, but fine. It was not fine. It was a scream for help from his fatty, dying liver. Warning sign Type 4. Skin tags or acanthosis nigricans. Your skin is a window into your metabolic health. Skin tags, those little, fleshy, benign growths on your neck, in your armpits, or in your groin. Acanthosis nigricans, dark, velvety, or dirty-looking patches of skin in those same areas, neck, armpits, groin. These are not just signs of aging. They are direct physical manifestations of high insulin. Insulin is a growth hormone. When you have so much of it, from insulin resistance, it causes your skin cells to grow and multiply abnormally. This is your body screaming at you that you are resistant to insulin. Warning sign number 5. High fasting insulin, HOMA-IR. This is the one test your doctor is probably not ordering. They order fasting glucose. But glucose is the last number to change. You must ask for a fasting insulin level. Your fasting glucose might be normal, e.g. 95, but your fasting insulin could be 20, 30, or 40. An optimal healthy fasting insulin is 5 UIU/ml. This shows that your pancreas is screaming, pumping out 10x the insulin, just to keep that blood sugar looking normal. This is the definition of insulin resistance, and it's the earliest warning sign years before your glucose ever moves. You can use these two numbers to calculate your HOMA-IR dollar score, a simple online calculator. This is your insulin resistance score. David's was astronomically high. This test proved he was TOFI long before his HbA1c levels ever crossed into the diabetic range. Section 6. The TOFI reversal. Plan it's not weight loss, it's body recomposition. So we found out David was TOFI. He had all the warning signs: high waist-to-height ratio, a disastrous TG-HDL ratio, elevated liver enzymes, and off-the-charts fasting insulin. Here is the most critical point of this entire consultation. The prescription for David was not, go lose 30 pounds. That's the wrong goal. He's already skinny. The prescription was not, just eat less and move more. Ah, that's lazy generic advice that doesn't work. The prescription for TOFI is body recomposition. This is a targeted strategy with two, and only two, goals. Lose the toxic fat, the visceral and ectopic fat. Gain the metabolic sink, your skeletal muscle. Notice that neither of these goals is lose weight on the scale. In fact, in a perfect TOFI reversal, a patient like David might stay the exact same weight, 160 pounds, but he will have transformed what that 160 pounds is made of. He will have shed 15 pounds of toxic visceral fat and gained 15 pounds of healthy glucose-hoovering muscle. So how do we do this? We have to attack the root cause. We have to declog his liver and pancreas. Dietary Strategy 1. Aggressively eliminate liver-clogging foods. The fat in David's liver, NAFL, was not put there by eating dietary fat. It was put there by his own liver turning sugar and starch into fat, de novo lipogenesis. Therefore, the only way to reverse it is to turn off the faucet. Weapon number 1. Eliminate fructose. Fructose, the sugar in fruit, is not toxic when it's eaten in a whole fruit, like a handful of berries or an apple, where it's bound to fiber. But when it's industrialized, in high-fructose corn syrup, fruit juices, sodas, agave nectar, healthy granola bars, and table sugar, which is 50% fructose, it is a direct, high-speed train to your liver. It preferentially drives fat creation in the liver. You must eliminate all added sugars and all liquid sugars. Period. Weapon number 2. Eliminate refined carbohydrates. White bread, white rice, pasta, cereal, crackers, gluten-free baked goods, which are often worse. These are just pure, fiberless glucose. When your safe pockets are full, which they are in TOFI, this glucose also spills over and is sent straight to the liver to be turned into fat. We have to clear these out. Weapon number 3. Temporary. Stop snacking and implement fasting. This is critical for a TOFI patient. Every time you eat, you raise insulin. And when insulin is high, you cannot burn stored fat. It's biologically impossible. A TOFI patient needs long periods with low insulin to allow their body to finally dip into those toxic fat stores in the liver and pancreas and burn them for fuel. This means stop grazing. Stop the 6 small meals a day myth. Eat 2 or 3 distinct, satisfying meals in a compressed window. This is time-restricted eating, TRE. Start with a 12-hour fast, e.g. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., then push it to 14 or even 16 hours, e.g. 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. This forces your body to eat its own fatty liver. Dietary strategy. Prioritize liver-healing foods. What do you eat? You eat for your muscles. Weapon number 1. Prioritize protein. Protein is the building block for the new muscle, our glucose sink, that you are trying to build. You must anchor every meal with 30-50 grams of high-quality protein, eggs, chicken, fish, beef, whey protein. Weapon number 2. Eat fiber. Fiber is your defense. It's the net in your gut that slows down the absorption of all food. It feeds your gut microbiome, which reduces inflammation. Eat above-ground vegetables, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, avocados, nuts, and seeds, chia, flax. Weapon number 3. Use fat as a lever. Healthy whole food fats, avocado, olive oil, nuts, eggs, are not your enemy. They are neutral for insulin. They are satiating. They help you stop snacking by keeping you full for 6 hours. This dietary shift stops the spillover and starts the cleanup. Section 7. The non-negotiable antidote. Building your glucose sink. We have now turned off the faucet that was flooding David's liver with toxic fat. But diet is only half of the prescription. Now we have to build the solution. We have to fix the other side of the spillover problem. Remember, in TOFI patients, their safe storage bucket is too small. So, we have to build them a new, bigger bucket. What is this new bucket? It is your skeletal muscle. Muscle is the most important and most ignored organ in metabolic health. It is your metabolic sink. It is a massive storage tank for glucose that is hungry for the very sugar that is poisoning you. When you eat a carbohydrate, your body has two sinks to put the resulting glucose. The liver sink. This is a very small tank. It can only hold about 100 grams of glycogen, stored glucose. When it's full, it spills over and makes fat, NAFLD, the muscle sink. This is a massive tank. Your muscles can store 400, 500, or even 600 grams of glycogen. A TOFI person like David, who was sedentary and had low muscle mass, was walking around with a liver sink that was full and a muscle sink that was the size of a shot glass. He had nowhere safe to put any carbohydrate he ate. Every carb spilled over. The antidote? Resistance training. This is non-negotiable. For a TOFI patient, lifting heavy things, bodyweight, dumbbells, barbells, resistance bands, is not exercise. It is medicine. It is the cure. Here is exactly what resistance training does and why it is so miraculous for this condition. First, it creates new storage. When you lift weights, you are building a bigger bucket. You are expanding your muscle sink. You are quite literally building new, healthy tissue that is designed to soak up glucose from your bloodstream. This permanently increases your personal fat threshold on the healthy side. It gives you a safe place to put the energy you eat. Second, it empties the current sink. When you use your muscles, when you do squats or push-ups or deadlifts, your muscles burn their stored glycogen, glucose, for fuel. This empties the bucket. So the next time you eat a meal with carbohydrates, that glucose floods into the empty muscle sink to refill it. It never even gets a chance to spill over into your liver. It has a job and a home. Third, and this is the magic, it bypasses insulin resistance. Remember how David's muscles were insulin resistant? The keyhole was jammed from the inside. Well, muscle contraction, the physical act of using your muscle, activates a special backdoor pathway for glucose. It's a transporter called GLUT4. This GLUT4 transporter sucks glucose out of your blood without needing insulin at all. It is a secret VIP entrance. This is why I tell all my patients to go for a 10-minute walk after a meal. That simple act contracts your leg muscles and activates GLUT4, physically pulling the sugar from your meal out of your bloodstream and into your muscle before it can cause a big spike. The plan for David was simple, but mandatory. Resistance training, 3 to 4 days per week. Focusing on large, compound movements, squats, lunges, push-ups, rows, deadlifts, to build the most muscle. Cardio, for visceral fat, 2 to 3 days per week. We use a Zone 2, steady-state conversational pace, and Heat 2, high-intensity interval training approach. Heat in particular has been shown to be exceptionally good at preferentially burning the toxic visceral fat. This recomposition plan, attacking the toxic fat with diet and fasting, while building the safe sink with protein and resistance training, is the only way to truly reverse TOFI. David followed this. 6 months later, his 160-pound weight on the scale had not changed, but his waist was down 4 inches, his triglycerides were 85, his HDL was 60, his fasting insulin was 4, and his HbA1c was 5.1%. He was no longer diabetic. He was transformed, the outro and call to action, the ending. The story of David is a warning. It is the story of millions of people who are being failed by a medical system that is still obsessed with a 200-year-old useless number called the BMI dose. Your weight on the scale is not a measure of your health. The healthy BMI dose on your chart might be a lie, a health halo that is masking a raging, silent metabolic fire on the inside. If you remember only 2 things from our entire time together today, let them be these. The real danger is not the visible fat you can pinch. It is the invisible, visceral and ectopic fat that is clogging your liver and pancreas. This is TOFI. and it is a far deadlier condition than visible obesity. You cannot fix this by losing weight. You must fix it with body recomposition. This means eliminating liver-clogging sugars and refined carbs and building your glucose sink with protein and non-negotiable resistance training. If this video resonated with you, if you suspect that you or someone you love might be TOFI, please share this video. You might be sharing the exact piece of information that pushes them to ask their doctor for the right tests, for that fasting insulin, for that TG-HDL ratio. You might just save their life. And please, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. My entire mission is to give you the science-backed, in-depth, actionable information you need to take back control of your own health. Now, I want to hear from you. This is our consultation. Have you ever been told your BM is healthy, but you still felt something was wrong? Or what is the one number, like your triglycerides, your ALTs, or your fasting insulin, that you are now going to ask your doctor for at your very next visit? Leave your story and your questions in the comments below. I will be in there, and I will do my best to answer as many as I can. Thank you for your time. Your health is not a number on a scale. It's the health of your organs. It's time to start fighting for it.
A warning. It is the story of millions of people who are being failed by a medical system that is still obsessed with a 200-year-old useless number called the BMI. Your weight on the scale is not a measure of your health. The healthy BMI dollars on your chart might be a lie, a health halo that is masking a raging, silent metabolic fire on the inside. If you remember only two things from our entire time together today, let them be these. The real danger is not the visible fat you can pinch. It is the invisible, visceral, and ectopic fat that is clogging your liver and pancreas. This is TOFI, and it is a far deadlier condition than visible obesity. You cannot fix this by losing weight. You must fix it with body recomposition. This means eliminating liver-clogging sugars and refined carbs and building your glucose sink with protein and non-negotiable resistance training. If this video resonated with you, if you suspect that you or someone you love might be TOFI, please share this video. You might be sharing the exact piece of information that pushes them to ask their doctor for the right tests. For that fasting insulin, for that TG-HDL ratio, you might just save their life. And please, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. My entire mission is to give you the science-backed, in-depth, actionable information you need to take back control of your own health. Now, I want to hear from you. This is our consultation. Have you ever been told your BMI is healthy, but you still felt something was wrong? Or what is the one number, like your triglycerides, your ALT dollars, or your fasting insulin, that you are now going to ask your doctor for at your very next visit? Leave your story and your questions in the comments below. I will be in there, and I will do my best to answer as many as I can. Thank you for your time. Your health is not a number on a scale. It's the health of your organs. It's time.